Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative take about the world around me. Feedback is immensely important. Feel free to reach out, and the best way to do so is through email. And I'm pretty much on all of audio podcast platforms, so it won't be hard to find me. And I'm also on YouTube. And feel free to fill up the comments, like, subscribe. I appreciate those who do, and I appreciate all of you for listening. All right, so the topic of choice is New Year, New You. Is all about, this month is fashion. And so, to start that out, I am going to talk about the origin of earrings. Here we go. All right, earrings. That mean different things to different people. And the 80s really hold their own with the imagery of earrings. So let's dive in here and see about the aspects and the very interesting history that it holds when it comes to earrings. All right, so what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to emphasize and talk about a specific article that focuses on the aspects of earrings. And this specific article was originally released in 2022 in September of 26. And if you hear people talking in the background, it's just my husband talking to my son, our son. So here we go. It says, A Brief History of Earrings by the Mexican Collection. So, though we cannot pinpoint the exact point in history when earrings became a popular ear embellishment, it is widely believed that the first ear decorations were worn as a talisman for good luck or to ward off evil spirits. Now, this is really, really, really interesting. I'm going to elaborate on this and give my opinion about it. Most of the time throughout history, either, it's not this simple, but I just find it fascinating when things happen like that. It's either kismet or it's one of those things where it's kismet because of it was out of a mistake. So the aspects of a sandwich, the roll of sandwich, or from, if I'm not mistaken, a sandwich was made out of, there wasn't a whole bunch around. It was out of necessity and pressure. That's the best way to describe it. And then, when that comes about, the matter of invention really comes out, being that creative spirit there. And so for this, a lot of other cases about this. And in this case, the aspects of supernatural really rings true in a lot of the fundamental aspects of our culture, particularly a lot of Eastern cultures being influenced by European culture. And the prominent example of this is the Egyptian culture. The Egyptian culture, it brought forth a lot of, that still is in reflection today. People look upon about the aspects of man and themselves. And then the aspects of supernatural protection was really in the forefront in the way they perceive their paintings, so to speak, with the sculptures, and then in this case with fashion. So let's dive in about this. So it says, earrings in ancient origins. Ear embellishments were just no means limited to just female ears. The archaeologists discovered this in 1991 of the well-preserved frozen corpse of Ortiz. The Iceman in the Alps was revealing in many ways. Archaeologists believe the Iceman died almost 5,000 years ago, making him the oldest human corpse ever discovered. One of the most interesting discoveries on the amazingly well-preserved find was the large ear piercings that were discovered on his corpse that indicated he wore heavy objects in his ears, with holes in the lobes that stretch to 10 millimeters. It's stretch lobe that is the bane of many women's lives as of today. Alright, so it is assumed by historians that Ortiz, the Iceman, wore ear embellishments for superstition and protection against evil spirits. And this was also true for many ancient cultures. And this is in relation to what I said about the Egyptian culture. So, here we go. So, in the age of the ancient Egyptians, ear piercings were also prevalent. The most well-known bust of Nefertiti, the wife of I know this is Atakin. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, but y'all know what I mean. Has pronounced pierced earlobes. Indeed, the death of mass discovery in the tomb of Tutankhamun and the many statues of the Kopaki and paintings of the pharaoh all depict well-defined pierced earlobes. So Egyptian women in particular, but also men and children, decorated their ears with rings, discs, or pendants of various materials. So the Egyptians also believed in the wearing of ear ornaments as protection against demons. Even Egyptian cats, considered the most sacred animal, wore gold hoop earrings in their ears. So the wearing of ear decorations was no mean exclusive to the Egyptians. In the ancient Rome, around 45 BC, earrings were popular with both men and women. And you can see it's prevalent. And then here we go when we talk about the most notable figure in Rome, Julius Caesar, influenced the trend by occasionally wearing a single hoop, elevating the earring to a status symbol and not just as a talisman of protection. All right. Now, I'll be right back. All right, so as I mentioned before, and I'll mention this again, the aspects of the Bible and aspects of historical accounts to reflect the events that happen in the Bible are very prevalent. And fashion is a lineage into the aspects of the disposition and faith and all this stuff, particularly how it evolves into the aspects from Old Testament to New Testament to modesty and all these sort of details here. Now, the fact that earrings are notable to talk about and reflect on in this particular article is quite interesting. So let's hear about what they have to say. Well, this particular writer has to say about it. So references to jewelry can be also found in that most refer to tomes in the Holy Bible. So, for example, Exodus 32, verse 10 through 4, Aaron commanded his followers, take off the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So after this, he set about carving a gold calf from the precious metals. While he did not know for sure if the Exodus took place, scholars date the writing to the period between 538 to 332 BC. Others refer to jewelry that can be found. Other references to jewelry that can be found in the Bible are more combative. So in Peter, chapter 3, verse 3 through 4, were of advice: do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of your hair and the putting of your gold jewelry, or the clothing you wear, but let your adorning to be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit within God's sight is very precious. So the benevolence towards jewelry, piercings, earrings, and external adorning, adorning continued throughout much of history. So, in fact, in the 13th century, the Catholic Church banned ear piercings altogether, as they were an alteration to what the Catholic Church considered the sacred body, that should not be altered with piercings and tattoos or of any kind. So piercings are also considered immoral for their general associations with pirates and thieves. And then this is a reflection again about, keeping people in line here, and the role, in fact, of spirituality, how they can do that. All right, so pirates and the decadent hoop. So, and this is a good translation to talk about pirates, transition that is. So while pirates were generally, and it's quite interesting about it, before I get into more details about this, how piracy became. So I talked about the aspects of Jack Sparrow and his implement in, piracy here. One of the most well-known pirates known to and throughout history. There's countless others, but he's one of the more well-crafted, due to the very popular Disney series Pirates of the Caribbean here. And then the portrayal that Johnny Depp did. All right, so it's quite interesting how things go in the name of nationalism and the protection of that particular nation. In this case, it was about the aspects, if I'm not mistaken, Queen Elizabeth, and it was all well and good. Well, we have to get back, what it was taken from us. Oh, but when it's realized, oh no, this is wrong. This, we're actually still in here. Let's not do that. So let's cut you off from what you know as a profession. And then so like, well, this is all we know, so we're going to continue to do this. What do you want from us? And so this is one of those, quote unquote, how you can see the origin story of good versus evil that comes about in comic books, relaying itself in real life here. All right, so let's get into talking about pirates and the decadent hoop. It says, while pirates were generally in the aspects of the religion cast out, they were shunned upon. There is to use all of these words to describe it here. The religious, in terms of what jewelry they wore, they actually used the earrings for many different reasons. Some believe it would improve their eyesight, others that it would pay for their funeral should their body wash ashore after being lost at sea. Many pirates believed that the precious metals held magical healing powers as well as the ability to repel evil spirits, and the wearing of ear decorations grew from these superstitions. Most seamen sported earrings as a mark of their travels, as earrings were given to young sailors to commemorate their first crossing of the equator or when they first round the treacherous waters in Cape Horn. So the choice of ear decoration also led to a touch of decadence to the humble earring. Hence the disapproval from the Catholic Church, who were for a period banished many ear people of wearing earwear. So the mysterious surroundings of the humble earring can be found in superstition and beliefs throughout the ages, and the popularity of earrings has embellished or ebbed itself in the aspects of history. Okay, so let's go into the time of Shakespeare. And Shakespeare is portrayed with ear piercing or earring in his ear, and the Elizabethan era of the love of jewelry. So when earrings and ear decorations are embraced in a society, they are generally done with gusto. So take the Elizabethans, for whom ear piercings and the wearing of ears were seen as a significant of notability, and not just among women. So, for example, William Shakespeare and Sir Francis Drake were often painted wearing ear hoops of various sizes. On the whole, Elizabethan jewelry was elaborate, extravagant, and in the preserve of upperclassmen and women. So cameo carvings were also popular, as were semi-precious stones carved with women, ships, and animals. Popular gemstones in Elizabethan jewelry included diamond, ruby, emerald, my favorite, topaz, and sapphire. So the pearl was particularly celebrated in the Elizabethan society and was worn as multiple strands or sewn in clothing and worn as the decoration in hair. And that goes without saying, the ear and the hair adorn those with pretty precious metals. So often the gold work holding the gemstone in Elizabethan era designs was decorated with colored glass enamel and was more elaborate than the stones themselves. So the Victorians here and the vulgar earring and the aspects of, the Victorian era was re-emphasizing or giving a more of a updated take about the aspects of purity here. Alright, so let's dive into this. So after the liberalism of the Elizabethan era, the Victorians were positively puritanical in their view of jewelry and earrings in particular. So the Victorians in the 19th century England considered pierced ears very vulgar, ungodly, and strictly the preserve of the lower classes. Additionally, the Victorian fashion of large collars, elaborated wigs, and high necklines did not naturally lend themselves to elaborate displays of jewelry and ears. Much like the Elizabethans, the Victorians loved to wear pearls, though their preference was more influenced by the pearl being considered the eternal symbol of purity and innocence. Alright, so Victorians also favored and ordered pieces of jewelry with intricate work and decorated with semi-precious stones like garnet and diamonds. So the favorite pieces of jewelry of the Victorians were statement necklines and elaborate brooches, all worn on clothing and not next to the skin. So over time, the vulgarity of the pierced ears gave way to the gradual acceptance of clip-on earrings. So in more refined society, by the end of the 19th century, earrings began a resurgence as fashion and hairstyles changed. So gone were the elaborate bonnets, capes, and powdered wigs of the Victorians, to be replaced with elegance and simple collars and ponytails that allowed for more emphasis on the ears, as the earlobes could finally be seen and admired. So, on to the fabulous 50s. And this was the era. I'll be right back. Alright, sorry about that, folks. Still got the gunks from the weather changes. Kick your butt with your immune system. Alright, so, it saw the change of high fashion, with haute couture. We get the immense legacy in fashion with her, not only with her impeccable work, but how much grace and beauty and dedication that she had, is Audrey Hepburn, and the list goes on, Grace Kelly, and so forth. All right, let's get into the 50s. It says, excuse me, It is difficult to date earring trends throughout the ages as styles goes on and out of fashion at a dizzying speed. So, for example, by the 50s, jewelry had evolved into large statement pieces, very reminiscent of the Otherlink, but not much smaller in budget. So think long strands of oversized faux pearls, statement brooches, and chunky gold tone bracelets and wide circle earrings. So whereas in the past, large jewelry came with a hefty price tag, in the 50s, statement jewelry and precious metals gave way to faux stones set in more economical base metals such as copper and brass. So jewelry constructed from new metals like lucite and bacite were also coming into fashion. Alright, so the indomitable hoop, the coiffured hyper-style hairdos of the 50s gave way to the looser, more free-flowing hairstyles of the 60s. So the earring trend moved away from oversized discs and faux stones to a style that would have great impact even throughout long hair. So even to have long hair, you can still see the aspects of pronounced earrings here. Alright, so while the hoop earring is a trend in itself, it is almost associated with Latina women and the minority cultures long before its emergence in the 60s and 70s as a fashion accessory. So worn as a celebration of ancestry through the ages, the hoop made the jump to fast fashion after the 70s. So while earring trends have changed dramatically over the ages from their roots in Mesopotamia to the present day, the humble hoop has never lost its universal appeal. So of course there is more choices than ever now, just with the metal designing of circle, but also how hoops close into the ear. Alright, so earrings in the modern age. So ear piercings in the modern age is very much a ritual to signify the coming of age. There has always been something individualistic and rebellious and downright grown up about having ear piercings. And I've said this before about the aspects of fashion and what you wear. Because, pretty much it's like a walking billboard to advertise what, for the most part, it's not always the case, but for the most part, you give off what your individuality speaks or addresses upon here, pun intended. All right, so who doesn't remember the excitement of getting their first piercing? So the Victorians had a point. There is a thrill in the emotion attached to getting a pierced ear. So the movie Grease epitomized this association of the piercing as something edgy and rebellious when good girl Sandy was tempted by the bad girls to get her ears pierced as a rite of passage to be accepted. So earrings have always gone through stages of unpopularity followed by periods of acceptance. And this is very true from the Middle Ages all the way to the Renaissance to the 18th and 19th century. Sometimes kings and queens have worn them to display status and wealth at other times. Earrings were only worn by members of the lower class, undesirables, and slaves. So the simple fact is that throughout the ages, earrings have represented more than their physical forms, and that is still true for the styles favored today. So curating the modern ear. So the trend for multiple ear piercings has been gathering stems over the past few years, and is now not uncommon to see an A-list star on the red carpet with multiple ear piercings and a dazzling array of ear embellishments worn almost as ear armor. So asymmetrical triple earrings and cartilage piercings have also become popular, though they are still not nearly as common as the standard lobe piercing. All right, so they end by saying this, and I'm going to end on this aspect, and I think it's well put. It says, the right look is always one that is comfortable for you and that resonates with your own personal style. So if you decide to go the route of multiple piercings, consider how you can incorporate a treasure hoop or long threader from your existing jewelry collection with new style. And so, by all means, embrace the new, but also celebrate the vintage and switch up with the combination to breathe new life into your jewelry treasure. And I'm going to say this. The rich tapestry in history also, in fact, encourages, and that's why I think it's so very important to always have that love and that thirst for knowledge, to really see things in a new light. And in this case, seeing earrings with a new sense of flair. History can do that. All right, so I will tongue-tied there. I would greatly like to know what you all think. Feel free to reach out to me. And as I said in the beginning of the show, the best way to do that is through email. All right, tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye-bye for now.